Hello, everyone. I'm Chase Younts. Alongside me, Brady King. Again, we're not going to waste much time into getting into this one. A big weekend of college football coming up to end the month of September. Brady's out there in Columbus. The number one team, the Ohio State Buckeyes, are taking on Washington. We'll talk about them in just a moment. But, we've got some big games coming up here, Brady.
Oh, absolutely. You really can't draw up a better weekend than this when it comes to just the sheer amount of games on Saturday that are big time games, and I'm super excited for it. This is one of two huge weekends this year, really, that we're going to see, and I'm just beyond ready. And there's some really good games to pick here, so it wasn't hard for us to find some games to talk about.
It almost appeared to the surface without even doing any sort of work. Remember back in 2022 when we had that October 15th weekend?
Yeah.
That was – I remember that. Again, Alabama-Tennessee was the one that just, sold the headline, took the cake and everything else. But, we've got some fantastic games to look at. And the first one we're going to take a look at is USC versus Illinois. Number 21 Trojans taking on the number 23 Fighting Illini. The Fighting Illini, they played in the fight last week and got absolutely steamrolled on the road in primetime against Indiana. Fernando Mendoza and Kurt Signetti and all them over at Indiana, they put on a show and obviously moved up in the rankings. But Illinois got a chance to come back here with the home game. They're taking on an undefeated team in USC. And, they're going to be looking at something with Lincoln Riley and Jaden Mayava. This is a tough matchup for Illinois, a rough couple of weeks coming up for them.
Oh, 100%. Illinois' schedule preseason didn't look too bad, but then as the season's gone now that USC looks good, Indiana's better than a lot of people thought. Then you got three pretty difficult games on your schedule at that point, with also playing Ohio State. So Illinois' path isn't as easy as people thought. They were ranked in the top 10, really rightfully so, based off of what had been happening before and how they finished the year last year and the people they returned. But wow, they got steamrolled.
Yeah, they definitely did. They got obliterated, to say. When checking what was going on with that game, and I'm like, wow, this game is already over. I was like, oh man, this is the second half. I'm going to take a look at this one, but that was a rough one for them. They're going to need to bounce back tough in Champaign. And one of the guys that I've seen kind of surface around a lot of mock drafts recently, and a little bit in the first round, is the USC receiver Makai Lemon. Obviously, you got guys like over. In Arizona State, Jordan Tyson. You got Carnell Tate. A couple of those guys being the top guys on some of these lists. But Makai Lemon has really shown up on some of these boards, and he's averaging 18.3 yards a catch, over 400 yards, and 3 touchdowns on the season. Yeah. What have you seen from him?
I think he's a stud. They've got a really good wide receiver duo with Makai Lemon and Jacoby Lane. He's like 6'4", jump ball guy that has to stay another year, I believe. Or no, I think he's actually a junior as well. So They have two guys possibly going out, but Makai Lemon, he's the most consistent one of the two. He's a deep threat. He's not very big, but he's good with the ball in his hands. Really good route runner. Definitely one of the better receivers in the country. He's having a big year thus far. And that's a top 3 wide receiver duo in all of college football right there. Especially with the Clemson guys disappointing a lot. I was told by a certain Clemson fan that their receivers were better than ours and better than everybody else's. That's obviously not the case. But yes, the USC Trojans, they've got some receivers out there, and they've also got a quarterback.
How does Illinois bounce back from a putrid defensive performance? They lost the line of scrimmage, especially on defense, but also on offense. They gave up 7 sacks for their quarterback, Luke Altmaier, who hasn't thrown an interception this year. That's one thing. But again, defensively, you give up over 60 points against a conference opponent in primetime on the road. What are you telling your guys back there?
Yeah, I honestly don't really know where they go from here on defense. It's like you just see what happened last week. You got Indiana running backs. Never heard of these guys just flying through the hole, and scoring these 40-yard touchdowns. I feel like they had actually I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but they kept breaking long runs, and I'm just like, what is happening? Illinois' defense was really good last year, including against some good teams like Penn State and South Carolina, who had dynamic offenses, and now you just see them just get eaten alive. And Indiana looked outstanding. I mean, Jaden Maeva is a good player for USC, and obviously so is Fernando Mendoza. But Maeva, man, he's going to shred them apart, especially with – I think USC's receivers are slightly better than Indiana's, although I think Indiana has one of the best receiving corps in the country as well. But it's going to be really hard for Illinois to stop Mekhi Lemon and Jacoby Lane after what we just saw last week. I mean, I don't think USC is nearly as physical as Indiana, but they're good on the outside just like Indiana is.
All right, so the odds for this one, it opened up as USC -1.5 and has since jumped to -6.5 on the road for the Trojans, over under 60.5. Who are we going with in this one? What's your pick?
Yeah, I've got to take USC. I feel like it'd be foolish of me to take Illinois at this point due to what we just saw last week and their inability to stop the pass, stop the run, play any offense, and playing against another good team. It's just like, man, I have to go with USC in this. I just think their offense is too good.
I think it's going to be too overwhelming for Illinois. I mean, even though, there's some times where you have a really bad week and you're eager to get back after it and you go out there and put on a good performance to kind of forget it. That's going to be a tough one to forget about last Saturday for Illinois. And then to see that team come up in there in USC, and it's not going to get any easier for the Fighting Illini. Yeah, it's going to be tough. I'm taking USC in this one. But we'll take on out west, all right? This one is a very interesting one. The game, it moved from a 14.5-point favorite for Ohio State all the way down to 8.5, taking on undefeated Washington. It's a 3:30 game on CBS out in Seattle. This is a matchup, man. This is a fun matchup, especially, with Julian Sayin at quarterback and on the other side, Damon Williams Jr., who has not thrown a pick this year.
Yeah, it's actually a really fun matchup. I mean, if this were like a matchup like that, obviously from the outside, I really enjoy watching big time programs play sneaky teams like this, and except for when it's obviously my team.
Yeah.
But Washington's the real deal from what I've seen so far. I mean, Washington State's not that good, obviously, but they absolutely scored every single time. Damon Williams, I believe I saw a stat. I don't think they've punted with him at quarterback yet.
Jeez.
Damon Williams, first year starting, class of 2024, was a pretty big recruit out of Arizona, won a couple of state championships in high school. He's only about 5'11". That dude is fast. He can move. He's just a baller. But his arm, he has a cannon. He can sling it. He can sling the skin down the field. He can throw a 50-yard bomb if he needs to. He can throw a deep corner out on the money. And their offense is just easily top 10 in college football. I definitely think they should have been ranked this week. It was kind of surprising to me that they weren't. But you also have a potential first-round receiver in Denzel Boston, a top 3 running back in college football right now, and Jonah Coleman. But, man, I mean, that offense is disgusting. However, their defense is vulnerable. I've seen their defense give up some plays, some chunk plays, though it's going to be loud. That's one of the loudest stadiums in the country. It won't be easy. Julian Sayin's first start on the road, and it's not an easy one. They haven't lost at home, and they have over 20-game win streak at home. So this is a test. This is a big test. For me personally, if we can win this game and we look good doing it, I'll be very, very pleased with the outcome. And I just think Washington is a big test, honestly.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one to say, especially with this younger football team. But again, there's been a lot of guys that have experience on defense for Ohio State being in rotation over the last couple of years. But then offensively, that's where you're always, the eyes go to the quarterback at that rate. I mean, this is, first road game for Julian Sayin in a tough environment out west. I mean, this is something that Washington has had circled on their schedule for quite a while. Then you get, the national TV nod, of course. I mean, we knew that was going to happen. But again, this is a big time game for Ohio State. And an X factor, obviously, we would be remiss not to talk about Jeremiah Smith and how, it would be nice to see him really have a huge game and be that big time security blanket for Julian Sam. But how about the kid Bo Jackson? I mean, 18 carries for 217 yards and a touchdown in 2 games this season. I know obviously like stats can get a little bit inflated when you're playing some of these, lower tier non-conference teams to start the season off. But I mean, this kid's a freshman, true freshman at that. He's going to be a problem in the future, and he might be a problem on Saturday.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, at this point, start the guy. Just make him RB1. He's the best running back on the team. Of course, he's a freshman. Maybe he's not quite like as physically ready as CJ Donaldson and James Peoples, but when you got a running back that's just a more natural runner than the other two, they're going to be the best. Those are the best running backs, the ones that get the ball and they just naturally go to the right spots. Like they're just naturally moving. They know like their vision's good. They break arm tackles, like people like that. That's what he does. And to go along with that, he's got long speed. I mean, it was a really big get out of high school because there was a while where he wasn't going to go to Ohio State when Tony Alford was recruiting him. It actually was big. When Tony Alford left for Michigan, Coach Lachlan, he formed a better relationship with Bo, and Georgia was in the lead. We were able to steer him back the other direction, and I think we might have RB1 because CJ Donaldson, solid back. James Peoples, solid back. Bo Jackson looks like he could be one of the best backs in college football in the future down the line with the way he moves with the ball in his hands.
Well, the cream of the crop rides to the top, and Bo Jackson, that's what everyone's thinking right now about Ohio State and him as that young freshman. All right, so this game, like I mentioned a moment ago, Ohio State opened as 13.5-point favorites, and now they're down to only 8.5. Over under 51.5. 3:30 kick. I mean, whenever you're playing in the Northwest in Seattle, you can always expect some sort of rain to happen. I don't have a forecast in front of me right now. But what are we thinking here, Brady? We had some conversation behind the camera. I mean, kind of a coin flip at this point.
Yeah. I don't do this a lot. I don't. And I don't like to do it.
Oh, boy.
It's not something I like to do. And I'm trying to think more about the ways that we can win rather than what I actually think is going to happen. I do think that Ohio State will lose this game. I think Washington's home win streak stays alive. I think it's really hard to win there. We have a first-time starting quarterback who's only a sophomore, which leads to some more struggles for our offense than normally would happen. And I think our defense will have its worst game of the year. And I think we lose the game 34-27. We lose by a touchdown on the road to the Huskies.
Yeah, I mean, that's not many times that Brady has picked against Ohio State, and rightfully so.
Yeah.
I'm going to go against him. I'm going to go against him just to make things interesting because you know what? I think if Ohio State's able to get the run game established and can silence that crowd earlier, then I think the Buckeyes can be able to win this game. I think it's going to be close, though. I think it's going to be close. Should be a really exciting one on CBS. The next game we're talking about, LSU and Ole Miss. LSU goes on the road to take on Ole Miss. If you haven't surfaced around social media over the last couple of days, Lane Kiffin's daughter, Landry, is dating LSU star linebacker Whit Weeks. And if you know a thing or two about Lane Kiffin, one, he's a colorful individual is what I'll put it at one right. But the other thing is he likes to use Twitter a lot. And there were 3 words that he said about this game. Bet the over. Oh, okay. This makes things really, really interesting. I'm excited to see. Ole Miss is favored by 1.5. It actually went from LSU favored by 1.5 back to Ole Miss 1.5. Over under 54.5. Let's talk about the actual matchup itself. Garrett Nussmeier, 6 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and nearly 1,000 yards passing over the first 4 games of the season for the number 4 Tigers. Whenever these two teams play, crazy things happen. They go back. The last time I think they played against each other, Jaden Daniels was the starting quarterback, and that was an arcade show. I mean, what are we thinking about Saturday afternoon in Oxford?
I mean, this is always a fun matchup, like you said. It could go really either way because I feel like Ole Miss always puts up a billion points against LSU and vice versa. But LSU's defense looks a lot improved this year from what it was a year ago, and especially the year before that.
Yeah.
But Ole Miss made a really good quarterback change last week with Trinidad Chambliss taking over for Austin Simmons. And now their offense is rolling. I mean, that was a really good win that they had last week against Tulane, because Tulane had been playing really well, and they're a pretty good team. They've been a good program the past few years, and Ole Miss just destroyed them. So I think Ole Miss has found a spark on offense for sure with Chambliss. And LSU's offense has been mid. Garrett Nussmeier has not been as good as expected this year so far. Coming into the year, he was known to possibly be one of the better quarterbacks in college football. I would not say he's looked like that so far, even against weak competition, not just against, the Clemsons of the world, even though they suck.
Yeah.
And the Florida Gators, who also sucks. But you know what I mean. Teams that have had good recruiting classes in the past and have guys that potentially could have been good. Yeah. He still hasn't looked very good against the subpar competition. But that being said, I feel like this may be the week. LSU's got a known group of receivers that are solid players. Nick Anderson, Barry Brown, Aaron Anderson are all solid receivers. So it'll be interesting to see if Garrett can get the offense moving. And this is in Oxford, right?
Yes, in Oxford.
Oxford.
I'll say this: a guy who I looked at some of the numbers at receiver for Ole Miss, a guy who I think is going to step back up after having a rough week. Harrison Wallace III averaging over 20 yards a catch, and over 100 yards in his first two games, and then 90 in week 3 against Arkansas. So,
former Penn State Nittany Lion Harrison Wallace III.
There you go. Yeah,
last year, Drew Aller's wide receiver 1.
I'm just going to say that. Keep that in mind. But both these teams are 4-0. Ole Miss number 13. I know obviously it's early on in the season, but these games could come down to things, especially when it comes to, playing in the SEC championship and everything else once we get to December. But, I'm going to go with the home team, Ole Miss, in this one. I'm going to take Ole Miss. I think that Lane Kiffin, hey, man, bet the over. I think he's got something dialed up for this LSU defense that they haven't seen, and Ole Miss usually puts up a bunch of points on them. I know LSU's defense is, really good this year, but this is going to be a look of, man, this might be one of the best offenses we face this year. I don't know if they're going to be able to have a chance to stop them like that.
Yeah, I agree. I'm also going to take Ole Miss, possibly Trinidad Chambliss, Heisman watch after this week if he's able to dissect this LSU defense for the first time of any quarterback this year. Because LSU, their transfer corner from Virginia Tech, Mansour Delane, he's had a really good year so far. He's been the highest graded corner in the country. I have a feeling that Ole Miss kind of moves the ball better than anybody has so far against them and gets it done at home in a good, really close matchup. But I do think their offense is going to play better than anybody else has so far against LSU. I think they're going to get the win. 27-24.
Tight one, man.
Tight one. And they get the win at home.
That'll be huge for Ole Miss and the fans in Oxford. And we'll go to Saturday night, all right? Talk about putting the multi-view on for this one. But again, I mean, I think we've known that, hey, Big Ten football is better than the SEC at the moment. So I'll save the best for last, and we'll talk about Alabama and Georgia first, all right? So Georgia, they're 3-0. Bama's 2-1. We obviously know they started off the season with that Florida State loss. Ty Simpson's looked pretty good over the last couple of weeks. Gunnar Stockton hasn't thrown a pick. This game doesn't have the same sort of pop it did last year, or the same sort of pop it did a couple years back whenever they would face off in the SEC championship. But Georgia's favored by 3.5, over under 52.5. I don't really want to spend a whole lot of time talking about this game, but is it definitive in your mind that Georgia's just going to win this game, or do you have some legitimate questions?
I definitely have some questions. I thought Georgia's defense looked very suspect against Tennessee compared to what they've been. And Alabama's offense, albeit against not great teams, has looked a lot better since that Florida State game. Ty Simpson has looked pretty good. He really has. Ryan Williams finally had pretty nice game over there against Wisconsin. So he was rolling. And Jeremy Bernard, another really good receiver. He's actually been better than Ryan Williams ever since the Georgia game from last year. And he's one of the better receivers in college football. I think that Alabama offense looks nice. Now, I thought their defense was was the most overrated side of the ball from any team in the country heading into the year. There were legitimate people thinking they had the best defense in the country heading into the year, which I did not understand in the least if they watched last year. Just because you return everybody doesn't mean you're going to be the best defense in the country. And that's what it's looking like so far. I just don't think a lot of these guys that were hyped up on their defense are as good as people thought. But I think their offense is pretty dang good. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what Alabama's able to do against a top-tier opponent like Georgia. I mean, we talked about it before. Gunnar Stockton does look like he owns Northwestern Mutual at 45 years old, but that's nonetheless okay. Nonetheless, has not played bad at quarterback this year. X factors for me, Zachariah Branch. You talked about him when he was a freshman at USC. He transferred over to Georgia. Not bold claim. Punt return touchdown. Sure. Yeah. Why not? I don't know. Give me Georgia winning this football game. That's what I'll put.
Yeah. Alabama owns Georgia. Although Georgia's the better team, I don't know what it is. Something's telling me that Alabama's going to win this game and is going to kind of shake up the SEC a little bit.
It could happen. I just don't see Nick Saban on the sideline. That's my.
But I'm going to pick Georgia.
So yeah, you're really good at that flip side. I was like, whoa, where are we going with this one right now?
Yeah, no, where are we going? I was actually thinking about it, like picking Alabama, but I just think Georgia gets a really close win here at home. I just think the home crowd, the defense is going to put some – their defense is going to play a lot better at home than they did at Tennessee. Yeah. They'll put some pressure on Ty Simpson. I think he throws a pick or two maybe. I don't think highly of either of these quarterbacks. I know they've both actually played really well so far.
Yeah,
I still don't think too highly of them. I think – when it comes down to it against good teams, and I know Gunnar Stockton made some huge throws. He really did against Tennessee. Yeah. But I've also just watched him look pretty incapable in the passing game. And I think overall, I think this is going to be a little bit more of a slugfest than you would expect with two teams that have been actually better on offense when they've played against better opponents. But I'm going to pick Georgia.
Yeah, it truly is kind of a coin flip game. Again, it's like you're not sold on both of these quarterbacks yet. Could someone change your mind on Saturday night?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, but definitely could. But it doesn't. I know it's 17 versus 5. It just doesn't have that same pop anymore. Obviously, when Nick Saban's your coach.
Oh, yeah. When Nick Saban's your coach, it's just different.
It is just different. So. That obviously plays into effect, but I actually do like Ty Simpson at quarterback for Bama. I think I don't think he's bad.
I think he's better than Stockton.
Yeah, I think he's better than Stockton too. So I mean, but again, obviously depends on who plays better on Saturday and who doesn't make the big time turnover. I think it's what it comes down to a lot, but especially in a game like this in a slugfest. Let's go to the biggest game of the weekend, I would say. Both of these teams are undefeated. It's Oregon, number 6, versus number 3, Penn State. It's the whiteout game. It's in Happy Valley. Our good friend Noah Eagle's on the call for this one with Todd Blackledge and Catherine Tappan. Excuse me. I mean, just looking at this, all right? Oregon, I mean, look. Dante Moore, 11 touchdowns to 1 interception, averaging around 250 yards a game. On the flip side, Drew Aller, I don't know what's going on, okay? I'm not entirely sure. But obviously, Penn State can run the football, don't get me wrong. They obviously still have their running back duo back there, and they have a completely different receiving core now. And their defense is good as well. So they have a lot of good stuff. Man, look, I don't want to be the guy that just sits up here and flames Drew Aller because, they've won. Obviously, they haven't won anything, legit. But this is the rematch of the Big Ten championship from last year. The last time they played each other, man, I know Penn State put up points, but there were just some plays in my mind where Drew Aller just I was like, this guy does not have it. He doesn't. Okay. Right. And we've been waiting for years on this. When's Drew Aller going to do it? When's he gonna make some plays down the field? When's he gonna look like that guy? It hasn't happened yet, but it could happen this Saturday night. If there's any time, it's now for Drew Aller. So, I mean, am I wrong on this?
No, not at all. I mean, I think we've had the same opinion on Drew Aller in terms of like his not his like throwing ability or his arm. Like he
never uses it. That's the thing. He never uses it. We've seen the tape. We've seen this stuff. I'm like, dude, this guy, if he actually would be aggressive a little bit more, I mean, he'd easily be the number one quarterback coming out of drafts.
Oh, for sure. If he was like his arm, like I don't even think he's inaccurate anymore. That's the funny thing. Like no, 2023 a little bit, but like now it's like usually those guys with the big arms, the crazy releases, like their deficiencies or their inaccuracies or their ability to read the field. I don't think it's his inaccuracies. I think he's really like in the college football playoff against Boise State, dude was throwing these bombs in the end zone perfectly to Tyler Warren and Harrison Wallace, who's now at Ole Miss, who we talked about, and all these guys. But he just doesn't take any chances when it's not like open. Like he never throws like a 50-50 ball. Like whenever they're playing Ohio State or Michigan, he just kind of freezes. And when the pressure gets in his face, he just doesn't let it rip. And I think that's a mentality thing. I think that's something that you can't really change about him ever. And I don't think it ever will change. So I think that's a problem for him. It's the reason where I'm telling you, like if Drew Aller would have entered the transfer portal last offseason, which obviously he wasn't going to, I would not want, as an Ohio State fan, I would not want us to go after him, even though he's considered a possible like high pick, just because I've seen the way he plays in these situations. Like it's just.
Yeah. And talking about, I mean, if you're at Penn State playing in big games, just imagine how many more big games you'd play at Ohio State.
Oh, right. Exactly. And,
it's just, it's a given fact, but
yeah,
that's just the biggest question for me is what Drew Aller's on, again, I mean, Penn State's good. They're obviously, favored to win the Big Ten, to make a run at the national championship and everything else. And then on the flip side, Dante Moore just looks comfortable. He just looks comfortable, poised and everything else. I mean, this kid's the real deal. He went on, he transferred from USC, true sophomore from Detroit. He looks calm in the pocket, man. That's my big thing about him, and he doesn't look unfazed at all. So I mean, he's unfazed. No. That's a big thing for Dante Moore, a young quarterback like that.
Yeah, he looks honestly outrageous so far. Like it's looked almost perfect. The amount of big time throws just down the field that most people can't make that he's made consistently. Because a lot of time, like somebody like Anthony Richardson will make one good throw because he chucked it downfield and like, oh, he's one of the only people that can make that. I'm like, but he barely does it. Dante Moore's been doing it every game. Like he's been throwing like to the opposite hash. Like they'll be on the left hash and he throws down the right sideline on a laser for a back shoulder, go ball that's just perfect to their true freshman Decorian Moore, who's a stud.
That guy's
he's
good.
A really good. Like I think he's better than Ryan Williams was last year, and maybe this year. But that's the thing with those two. Like he might not have a play that Ryan Williams had against Georgia, but just like who is the better player? I thought he was a better prospect out of high school, and I think he looks really good and physical and just ready to play the game. And I think he's Oregon's wide receiver one. Malik Benson, though, is also looking good. He played at Alabama for a year, and I believe that he transferred to Florida State last year. And he was a really good player in JUCO like 3 years ago. And it looks like he's finally going to break out at Oregon. But, man, Dante Moore looks unbelievable. I think if the NFL draft happened right now, I think you have to take him as the first quarterback.
I mean, there's just something – you just – again, it goes back to just watching some of the tape. I mean, again, he's a young guy and everything else. Some things can change and, people get more tape on you and everything else. But he's just looked really good. In the limited time I've seen of him, he's looked really good playing football. And
he has.
When picking this game, I'm going to go on a limb and say that. So Decorian Moore has 207 yards over the first 4 games. Nothing crazy, but again, you can obviously see the talent. Yeah. And he has 12 catches. I think he matches his season total on Saturday night. Wow.
So
I'm going to go out there on a limb, and I think he's almost going to match his stats for the season in the Penn State game. I think that I want to look again. I mean, look, Dante Moore hasn't thrown the football a whole lot this year. He's only thrown it 95 times in 4 games. Yeah. Right, it's 24 times a game. They've been killing teams. Again, is it going to be a game where they just air it out over the yard? You wouldn't think so against a team like Penn State, but at the same time, if they can find the mole on the Penn State defense, or they just keep getting the ball and feeding out to one of their best playmakers and more, then I think it's possible. I think it's possible, especially with him getting some yak afterwards. That's all I got to say. I'm taking Oregon in this one. I think Oregon's going to walk in there and win this football game. It's going to be tough, but I think they're going to walk in there and win a close football game.
Yeah. Man, this is a great game. This is absolutely elite. I mean, the wide out, it's going to be a sweet atmosphere. I'm really excited to watch the game. As long as Ohio State wins the 3:30 game, I'll be a lot more excited to watch it. But man, it's tough. It's one I've gone back and forth on. I think it comes down to the Oregon offense. It really does. If Penn State defense versus Oregon offense will decide this game, not the other way around. Obviously, like if Penn State scores every possession, but I think it's predictable what's going to happen with Penn State. They're going to put up enough points to win on offense if their defense plays good, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think Jim Knowles kind of found a formula to stop Oregon a little bit last year in the Rose Bowl. Now, I don't think it's going to be 34-0 with the other offense not crossing the 50-yard line like that game. I do think Penn State's defense will have a good performance against Oregon. I think Penn State gets it done in the whiteout and gets their first big time win since really 2016 Ohio State. Unless you want to count like the Rose Bowls and all those bowl games, they've beaten some good teams, but I'm going with Penn State to get it done. I would say 27-21 final.
There we go. Well, again, this is a big week of college football coming up. This is going to be fun. Again, if you've watched this far, like, subscribe, comment. We appreciate all the support. You'll see me and Brady a little bit more as we go on with the rest of the season. But again, we've reached that conference play pretty much for everybody in college football, and this is where the real fun begins. We'll see you guys next time.